Hi, everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Be sure to click that subscribe button and ring the bell because YouTube is doing this weird thing where they're curating your follows, so you may not see everything chronologically. So ring the bell so you get alerts via email and by your bell at the top of your YouTube page. So that way you know whenever I post a new video. Of course, I talk about pop culture, comic books, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And tonight is Oscars night. And so I wanted to do Oscars. I covered it last year with a whole bunch of great guests. And tonight I've got on TheBlaze's Samantha Sullivan. You know her. I've had her on before. She is one of my all-star guests, and I'm very excited to have her back. Samantha, welcome to StudioJake.
Hey, thanks for inviting me back.
So we're talking about Oscars night, and the biggest everyone, you and I were talking about this before we came on. The only thing that viewers care about are Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Actor. Those are the only four categories, maybe Best Music. But I'm watching this list this year, and all the other lists seem kind of standard. But the Best Picture list is completely absurd. I'm just gonna, in case I know it's Oscars night, but just in case you are unfamiliar, we have Black Panther, which is a movie I liked, by the way, but I don't think it deserves Best Picture. We have BlacKkKlansman, a Spike Lee film, Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, that one had a little broad appeal, so I kind of understand that one. The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, which I fell asleep during the movie trailer. And A Star is Born, which is Lady Gaga saying, "Please love me," basically. And we have Vice, which is, of course, not about the cable channel, but about Dick Cheney. So this list is so absurd. There are two, like I've said, I haven't seen any of them except for Black Panther. And the only reason I'm saying Bohemian Rhapsody might be an exception is because I know it had kind of a broad appeal. It's about Freddie Mercury, but it has some controversy because of Bryan Singer. So I'm just curious, like, what is you as a movie reviewer first? Or not movie reviewer, a movie audience member?
Yeah.
What is your reaction to this list first? Like, did you see any of these films?
Yeah, I haven't seen any of these films. I used to go to the movies a lot, but I guess I'm just so annoyed with liberal Hollywood that I just kind of wrote off, and I shouldn't write off anything that they produce or write, right? Because I mean, they do some great stuff. But this year I'm just kind of like, I don't even want to go there with these people. I don't want to pay them any attention. I don't want to give my money to people who are just disparaging conservatives or middle America. So I haven't seen anything on the list at all. I've heard things, I've seen trailers, but I haven't seen anything.
And that's my thing too, is I did actually kind of want to see, I did see Black Panther. And like I said, I loved Black Panther. It's really hard to believe, but my Daily Wire, fellow Daily Wire contributor Paul Blois, who usually hates superhero movies with like the passion of 1,000 suns, he actually liked Black Panther. And but on this, he and I agreed with. I don't think it deserved Best Picture. Maybe Best Costume Design or even Best Special Effects, something like that, but not Best Picture. And I know this is shocking everyone because I've been like a very vocal proponent of nominating some of these superhero movies at the Oscars for something besides Best Sound Editing. I think Avengers, the first Avengers, that's the only Oscar nomination it got, was Best Sound Editing. And so, but Black Panther, really, as you can see from the shirt I'm wearing, really Infinity War should be on this list if they're going to nominate. But
Infinity War, that one was way too long for me. That's the one that I fell asleep in.
Oh my God.
I didn't think it was good.
No way. Avengers Infinity War, of the superhero movies to get Best Picture, I mean, what else are they going to nominate? You know, Batman versus Superman. But anyway, it was so that's kind of my reaction to it. And now let me ask you this. Did any of these movies, like you said you saw a couple of the trailers, did any of these movies pique your interest?
I think, Bohemian Rhapsody definitely does, because I love Rami Malek. I liked him in Robot? I forgot what it was called. the robot man guy or whatever. It was a series on USA, and he played like this hacker. Mr. Robot. Yeah, that's right. I loved him on that. And then I loved how he completely transforms into Freddie Mercury and how he had to change like his body language in the whole film. So that one really intrigued me. I'm actually kind of sad I didn't have time to watch it before tonight. Other than that, there really wasn't any other ones. Black Klansman looks kind of funny. Like I could probably watch it, but the trailer to me doesn't look worthy of Best Picture.
Yeah. And I honestly think this is them kind of throwing a bone to Spike Lee because he hasn't really done a good movie in a long time. And I think this one was, from what I heard from wiser people, is that it's good. They say it's, I think Christian Toto, who's a movie reviewer, he said that it was a return to form for Spike Lee. So I think they're just kind of throwing him a bone, saying good job for picking up the pace. So I can kind of see that. But yeah, I agree. It's like the Roma is, I know that the director, he's a really popular European director, I believe. But I fell asleep during the trailer because I could not figure out and I like black and white movies. I even like them when they do them in modern times, like today. But I just was like, what is this movie even about?
Yeah. And it's one of those that kind of like when you're watching these awards, it kind of pisses you off because there's always like this random film you've never heard of that takes and sweeps like the whole award show. And I'm like, why have I never heard of this? It just doesn't really speak to like the average American moviegoer. So that's how I feel about Roma. And then, I started researching it and looking it up. And then I saw it was in black and white. And then it's a foreign language film too. It's about the director's life in Mexico in the 70s. And it's
I'm sorry, I thought he was European. I'm sorry. I apologize for my racism there.
His name is Alfonso Cuarón. And he actually directed Gravity with Sandra Bullock, which I love that movie. Yeah. So that one doesn't look too bad, but I don't know if that it's going to necessarily like resonate with the average moviegoer.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of these, like I said, with the exception of Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsodies, a lot of these will become cult favorites. If judging from the reactions, I know the favorite there, it still has like it just outside the Hollywood bubble, it has like a few people who enjoyed it for some reason, and so I think I really feel like Hollywood, with them doing these niche films, where it's kind of political, like Vice. And I had Dana Perino on a couple of weeks ago.
Love her.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. And she gave her reaction to Vice, and she basically said it's just nonsense. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. She described it way more eloquently than I'm doing it now. But it's politically charged, and Andrew Klavan called it the left's fantasy about the Bush administration. And like I said, judging from just the trailers, how what's his name, the actor Sam
Christian.
No, not Christian Bale. The guy who played George W. His name escapes me. Sam Rockwell. That's it.
Okay.
You can just tell it's not how Bush was. I mean, I remember I was a kid when he was governor. My parents always talked about how wonderful governor he was. So that's just a thought. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Texas, live in LA now. But anyway, it was just it's just clearly a fantasy. And do you think that with the ratings being predictably so low, and last year they were low, they had Jimmy Kimmel as host 2 years in a row, and it dropped twice, and now they're having no host after the whole Kevin Hart debacle, which was just insane to me. How do you think this award show is going to go without a host? I mean, do you think that without kind of an MC there, do you think it's going to be rocky, or do you think they'll somehow be able to pull it off?
I mean, it might be better because, no one wants a monologue about how to be a better human, when you're just trying to enjoy yourself, on a Sunday night. I think it could go really well for them. I mean, like, no one wants to be lectured. And I was watching a funny bit by Jim Gaffigan, and he was like, they should just automate it the way they do at the checkout lines now, with no human there or whatever. And he was just totally making fun of it. So it might go well. I mean, they can save some money there by not having a host.
Yeah, and that's true. And to be in the days of hosts being the pool are over, because there's this. I feel like millennials aren't so much like this, but Gen Xers and maybe Gen Z are a little bit like this, where they just don't care. And so I'm a millennial. I don't care about. Everyone makes fun of me at the Daily Wire because I'm a contrarian when it comes to movies. If it's a classic, I'll ask, why is it a classic? Just because it's old? Like, is it a good movie? You know, I ask those questions all the time. But so I grew up thinking, I don't really care about this. I don't care about fame. Now, when I was a teenager, it was all about who it was. But I feel like kind of as Gen X is starting to be the ones who have the money, and even Gen Z is kind of coming up, I feel like millennials, we're like the last generation that has some caring about hosts and who's influencing and who's big on social media. Do you think that that could be part of it too? Is that people are starting to say, who cares who's in it?
It could be. It could be. I'm really not sure. I have no idea.
I'm just guessing here. I haven't done any research on it. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, me either. I wasn't even sure if they had replaced the hosts, honestly. I couldn't have cared less. I think it serves them right for eating their own.
Yeah. Well, especially Kevin Hart, who has been an ally, and then they just turn around and stab it in the back. And what I think is funny is the Saturday after that, they did SNL did a skit about the Oscar auditions, and they had Ellen, played by what's her name, the lady with the weird eyes who would imitate Hillary Clinton. I can't think of her name, but they had her play Ellen, like Ellen was doing another like she's like, hey, give me another chance, and then she makes fun of Kevin Hart, and then the very next week, Ellen has Kevin Hart on her show and is basically begging the Oscars to rehire him, and it's kind of like, oopsie, Saturday Night Live. That joke was, it was funny, I guess, when it happened, but I guess they weren't expecting Ellen, because for those of you who aren't familiar, Kevin Hart apparently told some gay jokes 12 years ago, and Ellen obviously is gay, and so she had him on her show and basically said, I'm sorry that this happened to you. I want to help you get back to hosting the Academy Awards. So, it's like you said, it's like they're eating their own. Do you think that this will ever stop, or do you think it's just going to keep moving?
It seems to keep moving. What was the latest bit? I mean, even though like Kevin Hart kind of said, I've changed, I'm sorry and whatnot, it wasn't good enough. So even if they see someone's like been rehabilitated in some way or apologizes, it's kind of like they're already tainted, It's just like they don't get past it, I don't think.
Right. And I agree with you. I think and I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be self-sustaining. So I'm going to ask, what if you were to guess between 1 and 2 pictures tonight, what film do you think walks away with Best Picture?
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and my 2 picks are Bohemian Rhapsody for Best Picture and Roma. I don't know too much about A Star Is Born. I mean, I saw like the trailer and I heard that Bradley Cooper did an excellent job, and it was like his directorial debut, and he did like a original singing. And I think like Lady Gaga has an amazing voice and talent, but I don't know if that one's going to be a strong contender. So I picked between Roma, because it's just this obscure film that I have a feeling like a bunch of film snobs are just going to give it all the awards, and Bohemian Rhapsody.
Well, this doesn't really happen normally. Normally you and I at least agree on one things when we usually have, but I actually have 2 totally different picks. I was saying not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously, but I was going to say Black Klansman again, because I think they're going to go, okay, this is Spike Lee's time, kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio when he won for the movie where he gets eaten by a bear.
Revenant.
Right, Revenant. They were saying that he really won that award for all the films he had done previously, not really for Revenant. And I think that's going to be Black Klansman. I think that if it was to win, that would be why they were going to say, okay, Spike Lee, it's his time to win an award. It's his turn.
Mm-hmm.
And my second pick is going to be The Favorite. And the reason is kind of how you said Roma is it's a period film. It's got lesbianism in it, and and it also has kind of that bougie Hollywood elitism feel of like I said, I haven't watched the film. I've only seen clips and watched the trailers, so I could be totally wrong. It could not be that kind of film. I'm just saying from especially how it was pushed in advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my two predictions, but that's really interesting. I could definitely see Roma winning for the exact reasons you laid out. It's got all the I won't say it has all the Oscar things. That's Screen Junkies would say, but it definitely has some of the Oscar things.
And it has an indigenous lead actress, which I'm sure like hits their intersectionality points. So yeah,
exactly. And I'm gonna now I'm gonna ask. It could be one of them on the list, or just a movie you saw that came out last year in 2018. What is a film that you think should be a contender? Maybe not necessarily win, but you think it should have been on the list at least.
Oh my gosh, I have not watched movies at all this year. I think the last movie that I felt really moved by was Wind River on Netflix with Jeremy Renner. Yeah, and I don't know if it should be on any list, and I don't know if it was or if it won anything at all yet, but I just remember that film like really being a power, like that was one of the films where I thought of like days after I watched it.
Yeah, I saw that one too. It's probably, and I'm saying this as someone who has seen them act in superhero movies. It was probably one of the best acting I've seen from Elizabeth Olsen and Jeremy Renner. I mean, it was a fantastic film.
Yeah, and so was John Bernthal. I mean, it was short for him, right? It was really short, but he's so like transformative in anything that he does. I just love him.
Yeah, and I would say for my pick, I was going to say A Quiet Place. I think that because to me it had appeal to both the Hollywood elites and to the audiences.
Yeah.
Everyone praised it. Everyone thought it was a good film. It had really good acting, really good music.
With Krasinski?
Yeah, John Krasinski.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, it's a great film. I think that if it had been put on this list, I think it should win. But and I know I'm breaking all my nerd friends' hearts because really, like I said, swap out Avengers Infinity War with Black Panther, because if you were going to nominate a superhero film, it should have been Infinity War. Also, too, my second choice would be Chappaquiddick about Ted Kennedy. That was, it was a fantastic film. And the film did a good job of not taking sides. It just kind of shows what actually happened. I believe they used a book that was written in the 80s for the basis of most of the content in it. So, of course, it had to guess at a couple of things, but it did it in a way where it just told the audience, here's what happened, now you decide. And for a historical film, especially as someone who's called the Lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy, I think that was really good, that they really pulled it off in a really good way.
Yeah, so. I watched it too. I didn't finish it because it was very slow moving for me.
It is a slow paced film.
So it's just one of those, like either you're super interested in the topic, or if you're kind of interested, then you're probably not going to finish the whole film.
That's true. And that is a good point. It's kind of because it's a biopic, it's very niche, and we have 2 biopics on the list now, but still biopics are kind of considered. I really think that's why Baby Driver in 2017 didn't get Best Picture nomination, because it's a niche kind of action / coming of age story. So and that's a very specific film genre. So I want to give the last word to you. Do you think are there any other awards that you are keeping your eye on? Like I know Melissa McCarthy is up for Best Actress, or like I know, you know, is there any other thing that you're kind of keeping your eye on? You'd like to say, okay, that film, I wouldn't mind if it won an award.
I don't really have any that I'm like, oh, I might like, I wouldn't be upset, but I will be upset if Vice wins anything, because I heard that film was just terrible. And if Vice does win any awards or a lot of awards, it just confirms like the bias within Hollywood liberals, right? I mean, because Christian Bale thanked Satan at the last award show, which is a shame because I really like him. I love The Dark Knight. I love Christian Bale. Loved American Psycho. So that's what I'm looking out for tonight, is if Vice wins anything. So yeah.
For me, it's I would say I think Spider-Verse, which is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is up for Best Animation. It definitely deserves to win. And I'm not even a Miles Morales as Spider-Man fan. I thought, now I haven't read any of the new stuff coming out about him, but he used to be in a kind of like a side story project that wasn't canon to the Marvel universe. So those stories were horrible and atrocious, and they should all be burned. But now I haven't read anything since because they brought him into the mainstream Marvel universe. Yeah. So I haven't read anything since then. Most people say his newer stories are better, but I definitely enjoyed this film. It was really well animated. The voice cast was amazing. If I was Sony, stick to animated Spider-Man films. Let Disney have their way with the live action ones. And who knows, Disney may burn out in the end.
That's funny though, because I'm not really into hero movies at all. I can't I can't take unless they're realistic. Okay, and this isn't a film, but I know I've been I like The Dark Knight, more believable, I guess. But I've been talking about The Punisher so much on Twitter, and I know, but that was a good first series on Netflix, and they just basically killed it. And I told my husband, I was like, I don't want to watch The Punisher. I don't want to watch it. And he's like, it's good. It's good. It's good. So I gave it a chance, watched it, loved the first season, loved John Bernthal. And then they just completely botched the second season. And I was like, well, so much for my superhero, series.
See, I'm the total opposite, because I grew up reading them in the comic books. So now The Dark Knight is an exception. I love that whole trilogy, but whenever they try to make it realistic, I'm like, why are you making it realistic? It's science fiction. So that's always my reaction. So now it is time for the curveball question. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, I started doing this gag when I came back with the new season, where I ask my guests a curveball question based on the topic we're talking about. And it's not a gotcha question. It's just kind of trying to force them to think. So here we go. So if you could cameo in any of the Best Picture films list, which film would it be?
And the best feature films or best picture list?
The ones we just talked about. Which one would have a Samantha cameo?
Oh my gosh, for sure, Bohemian Rhapsody.
There you go.
For sure. What's yours?
Mine would definitely have been Black Panther. This would be on the set.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love it. Okay, I'll see it just for you.
Oh, thank you. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Just so y'all know, a lot of people don't realize this, but Black Panther actually has a brother who was adopted who's white. So maybe I could audition. Yeah, I know, right? His code name is White Wolf. Maybe I can cameo. Of course, I think now they kind of combined his character with the Winter Soldier, but maybe I could cameo as that character as the White Wolf.
You should at least go audition since you live in LA.
Yeah, everyone does at least one audition while they live out here.
Yeah, right, that could be your first.
All right, Samantha, where can people find you?
Sam Elizabethan on Twitter, or Samantha Sullivan on Twitter.
And of course, you can find me at Real Jacob Airy. You can find my Facebook, which is Author Jacob Airy. My Instagram is now just Real Jacob Airy, like it is on Twitter. I took out the dots because it was confusing people, so just took out the dots. So it's just at Real Jacob Airy. My blog, of course, is jacobairy.blog. I recently wrote about this debacle between James Wood and the Walking Dead cast, which is hilarious. So definitely go read that. You can find my commentary also on dailywire.com. I have a movie review up there about Polar, which was an atrocious insult to the senses. I didn't write that in my review. I tried to be a little bit more measured, but it was really hard. And of course, be sure to pick up your copy of my fantasy fiction novel, The Seven Royals, All Good Things. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can download it for your Nook, your Kindle, or you can download it on iTunes. So it's all over the place. Definitely pick up your coffee. And I'll see you next time. Next week we have Hillary Kennedy, who's going to be doing, and yeah, I'm very excited about that. She's going to be doing a reaction to the Oscars. So I'll see you here next week, right here on Studio Jake.